with the internet has come several jobs, and one that's really popular now is the job of a content creator, social media influencer. And these people set up ring lights, employ others, do productions to pass on stories, some for entertainment. We have a lot of skit makers making us laugh, while for others, they use that platform to tell important stories and to bring about meaningful change. They create safe spaces where guests can come and share their stories and in the process have their lives rebuilt. One of such video creators who we're lucky to have here on Rubbin'minds is Lucky Udu, joining us from our Abuja studio. Lucky, welcome to Rubbin'minds.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. I'll go straight into it. What motivated you to employ the digital media, storytelling, and content creation as a career?
Okay, well, I have always wanted to serve the society, and I really did not know what exactly I was going to do. When I was in school, I studied at Elizade University. I used to watch this creator. His name is Nas Daily, and I saw how he was able to use media to tell important stories. And I felt that no one was doing it in Africa, especially Nigeria. So immediately I left school. I immediately started traveling from state to state, sorting out for people who were doing impressive things in society, yet nobody really knew anything about them. Like this, one of the earliest story I filmed was the story of a 7-year-old zookeeper. He was the youngest zookeeper in Nigeria, and after sharing his story, that guy and his family got a scholarship. Instant Indomie noodles rewarded him with an award of 1 million naira, and I felt really, really encouraged, and I never stopped. After that very story, I shared more others, and I became aware of the power of social media in shaping people, in shaping society through storytelling, and that was how I began my journey, basically.
And what particular challenges have you faced along the way? I know you started off by sharing a success story of the youngest zookeeper and how that led to an improvement in the person's life and that of the person's family. But along the way, what are the challenges you faced?
Okay, some of the challenges that I have faced is actually getting people to feel free to express themselves, to tell their story. A lot of people are scared about how people perceive their story and if they'll be judged, especially the Nigerian space. If you go online, especially on TikTok these days, a lot of people are sharing their stories from their own platform. If you could go through the comment section, you realize that most of these people are getting trolled. And because of that, a lot of people feel scared coming out to share their story. So most times when we find a story that is really interesting and we feel that, okay, this story, if shared, will be valuable to members of society and also, bring positive impact to the who is sharing the story. Sometimes we have to do a lot of convincing just to explain to them how far their story is going to go. We have to let them know about the previous impact of the previous stories we've covered. I feel like these are just some of the issues. Another one would be finance, because I traveled from state to state telling stories of people. I've been to 26 states of Nigeria at the moment, and it's not really easy moving around telling the stories. So I think that those are just basically the challenges that come to the kind of work that I do, finance and convincing people to express themselves.
And how are you able to identify the people whose stories you choose to tell? Is there a criteria that you have, or do people nominate themselves, or do you get recommendations that come in and you go through maybe applications? Tell us how you select your guests.
Okay. Well, basically, I remember when I started, I had to create a group chat, and I invited different people, my fans and supporters and friends. I told them about my idea of telling stories and how I wanted to share unique stories. And then some of the members there told me, oh, there's a story of this person, there's a story of this person. And we went through them, and I was like, okay, I'm going to share the story, I'm going to share the story. And eventually, after sharing those stories, one thing with Nigerians is that once you do something, it never stops. People come to you. When people are able to see how successful the last one was, a lot of people come to you. So sometimes I get to share people's stories based on recommendation. Sometimes they reach out to me themselves and say, hi, Mr. Lucky, please, I have a very unique story I'd like to tell. Then I get to review the story. I get to ask questions, do my investigations. And eventually, it's either I travel down to go film the story or they travel down to come meet me. So that's basically it.
Okay. Now we realize that some of the stories you tell are, which is different from what is expected. A lot of times people see grass to grace stories as somebody walking through life and then has somehow made it. But sometimes you tell the stories of grace to grass, and it has received some backlash. Like people will say, if Lucky Udu should interview you, your life don't finish, your life don't spoil. Almost like you are now the barometer to check how people's lives have finished, spoiled, in quotes. How are you able to deal with feedback like that where you're seeing memes on something that's very important, but somehow they found a comedic angle to it, and it's almost like if you're on that show, it means that your own don't spoil, or like you must have gone through a really rough patch.
Well, honestly, for some reason I've not been so well because of the kinds of comments that I've been seeing on social media. I feel that I am being misrepresented, and I don't feel so good about it. You see, most of the people that I've brought to my platform are people that were once on the spotlight, but nobody is hearing from them anymore. So what I basically did was to find out, hi, what's going on with you? We don't get to see you anymore online. Is it that there's a problem or something? And they go on to tell me that, life happened. This is what happened to me. This is why people don't get to see me. So, and that's not the only kinds of stories I've shared. I've shared other kinds of stories too. And it's not like I'm interested to share people's failure. No. Sometimes I'm even surprised because I don't even know. I'm not even aware that they are going to, some of the things they say in the video, they are going to really say them. My interest is just, hey, what's happened to you? Why are you not online? People don't get to hear from me anymore. Come tell the world what exactly happened. And because some of these people are aware of the potential of my platform, I feel that they feel really, really free to express themselves and tell the world what is going on. And we're actually bringing great value to people's lives. I mean, just look at the person whose story I shared about. It's not even up to a week. Presently, this guy has received almost 15 million naira in donations. Somebody even offered him a 2-bedroom flat apartment. Do you understand me? So when things like this are happening and you get to invite more people to come around to tell their story, you cannot control the things that they'll say, because apparently if somebody is going through difficulties, you can't tell them to act like everything is fine. Some people want to use it as an opportunity to escape whatever it is they are going through. And honestly, I never really planned all this. When I started, I used to share inspiring stories, but along the line, you get to see people who are doing impressive things, yet they are undervalued, they are underlooked, no opportunities for them to strive. And then when you bring their story to social media, they get help. They get good help. So I share all kinds of stories. I really don't know why people are particularly interested in the ones of people who were once on the spotlight and right now they are not doing so well. And it doesn't make me feel good. And it's becoming really hard to even invite people to my show these days, because when you go to the comment section and see what people are saying, a lot of people would not want to identify with something like that, even if their story is not even about, oh, please, I need the help of the public.
But then going by
that really makes me feel bad.
Oh, and what you're after is about telling positive stories and seeing change happen, positive change, like the story you just shared. So are there other positive stories? I mean, you shared the one about someone recently and the youngest zookeeper. Are there other positive stories that have come, someone whose life has turned around or has now regained popularity or acceptance by society as a result of sharing their story on your platform?
There are just too many. You see, there are too many. The issue I've had is that, I've been doing this work all alone. I never really even had an employee. Traveling the 26 states of Nigeria, I would source for stories myself. I would film myself, edit myself, So it was only recently that I decided to employ, people. And presently we have over 20 staffs, almost 25 staffs at the moment. And now I've been able to set up a follow-up team. For every story that I'm going to share on my platform, they are going to follow up to make sure that we share those testimonies. There are so many stories that I've shared. For example, there's a man who plants, he plants on water instead of soil. After sharing that story, Anambra State government reached out to this man. I can't even begin to tell you how many governors, senators, House of Rep members reached out to this very man. This man had opportunities to grow. There's what of the other guy who is making customized bikes from scratch? He's using metal scratch to make these bikes.
There's someone, you can see some footage on the screen. Would like you to speak to that.
Okay, yeah. I recently shared his story. He used to be one of the veteran. He used to be a singer back in the days, and he was one that sang "Me I won't feel irate, me I won't jogodo." So I heard that he has lost his sight and life has been really difficult for him. When I heard that story, I felt really bad. And honestly, with the platform I have, I felt that I was going to help this man. And then I traveled down to Delta State to tell his story. After telling his story, he received lots of donations. Tunde Ednot reached out to me, told me that one of his friends wants to send this man 2 million naira. And just one person sent him 2 million naira. As I'm talking to you, I'm very sure that this man should have received donations up to 5, 7, or even 10 million naira. Within it's even less than a week. And more people are still reaching out to him. But these are the parts that people don't see. How many media platforms in Nigeria are actually doing this? You cannot even think of one. There's absolutely none.
So
I feel like I should be getting accolades instead of...
So there's a credibility your platform comes with, that people trust you enough that when they send in their monies, they know it's going to the right places. How are you able to manage, the financial donations? Is there some kind of accountability? And even in the follow-up that you've spoken about, having follow-up stories, are the public able to see how these funds raised are being judiciously used?
Okay, thank you very much. Like I said, before now, I used to do everything myself. And I think one of the mistakes that I've made is that in the past, because there are some stories that I've shared and the people, we put out their personal account details. Okay, and sometimes they receive lots of donations, but then they decide to spend it for a purpose that was not intended. Let's say, for example, we share a story and the person say, oh, right now I'm having accommodation issues. I don't have a business. I'm looking for so money to start a business. And at the end of the day, when they receive donations, you see them buying land, you see them trying to build a house. And I think that is where my shortcoming, that's my mistake anyway. Right now, the follow-up team is going to make sure that we follow up to make sure that they spend that money judiciously. So whatever is being spent for the money, we account for it and tell the public this is exactly where your money went. Before now, I don't do it this way. And we put out their personal account details. So most times, if they receive donations, they don't even tell me, oh, Mr. Lucky, thank you so much for the interview. This is exactly what I got and this is exactly what has happened. But it was only when people began to make these kinds of comments that I began to look back on some of the stories I've shared, and I thought it would be wise for me to make sure that I follow up henceforth and I make sure that there's an accountability in every money donated. So, and I also have a foundation too. Sometimes we also raise money for people. There are times where I would print out the account statements of money donated and then we'll hand over the money to the person who we raised the money for. And then we'll also tell the public this is exactly where your money is going to. That has also happened too. But the problem I have discovered is that sometimes a lot of people will think that there is something you are making from this. So sometimes they'll prefer to donate directly to the person instead of donating to the organization.
Yeah, so you're not in it for the money. It's not coming to you, and
Sorry?
that's why it's not about the money for you. It's about telling, positive stories and creating change. Now, how did you come about that? Your opening statement, which I'd like you to, just imagine that you were on set and you were about to start one of those videos. Can you just deliver those lines and tell us what the inspiration behind those lines was?
Okay. How many of you remember the smart? Oh my goodness. Okay.
And how did you come up with that?
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking right now. When I want to tell people's story, I want to think of an intro. One thing with social media is that if you're not able to tell stories in a way that it captures people's attention, no one would listen to you, no matter how good your intention is. So when I come out to say something like, how many of you remember this man? It draws people's attention. People want to satisfy your curiosity. They want to exactly know who I'm referring to. And then, you know what happens next. The person who I'm to interview then, gets the stage and all. So, yeah, that's something that I just discovered over time. It wasn't always this way.
Okay.
At some point I was like, okay, because I'm constantly thinking, how best can I introduce my audience? So, yeah, that's how it happened.
Well, we wish you all the best as you continue to tell these very important stories and also bring about positive change in society. And hopefully the trolls do not discourage you from the amazing, life-changing work that you're doing. Thank you, Lucky Udu, for being on Rubbin'minds.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.